Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Samara from CoachingConsciousCreators.com, and today I want to talk to you guys about how to go to 5D right now if you follow these instructions. So if you saw my other video on explaining the dimensions and what 5D actually means, then you probably know where I'm going with this. If you did not watch that video, I'll give you a quick recap, but I would recommend that you watch that and run through the 5 dimensions. So the first dimension is the single point. Second dimension gives you an additional axis. If you remember your geometry from high school, you have X and Y, so you can create lines with those single points. Third dimension gives you the third axis, which allows you to put those points anywhere in space, creating volume and mass and everything that you can touch in this vibrational reality. Fourth dimension adds time, which means you can take said objects and move them anywhere. You can't move something from A to B without time elapsing. So time was created so that we could experience change. Time adds changeability. So the fifth dimension is beyond all the other 4 dimensions, which means it's beyond time. So from the 5th dimension, you're able to view time as part of the creation. You're able to manipulate it. So like from the 4th dimension, which we've been in for quite some time, you can manipulate things in the 3D. You can move them from one space to another. Well, from 5D, you can manipulate time itself, and that is essentially what manifestation is. Manifestation is using your imagination to bring things about that do not yet exist. So you're in one point in time, you exit all time and all space using your imagination, and you can create events anywhere on any timeline that you choose. So that is what it means to be in 5D. How do you get to 5D? There are a ton of ways to get to 5D. Essentially, being in 5D, which adds the element of imagination. So 4D added time, 5D adds imagination, or the ability to travel back and forth across time using your imagination. So the way to go to 5D is to disconnect from 3D and 4D. So that means disconnect from your physical body and disconnect from this concept that you are in a particular point in time. How do you do that? Well, meditation is the most basic, easy way to do that. Meditation allows you to clear your mind so that you are no longer associated with the ego, with this personality that you have. You are no longer associated with any spot that you're at in time. When you meditate and when you get really clear and when you go into the dark energy by closing your eyes and connecting to your breath, you forget that you are someone and you just connect with the entire consciousness. And it is at that point that you are outside of 3D and 4D and you are in 5D. So when you are in that space, the way to confirm that you are in 5D, which is the only place from which you can manifest, is that your experience, whatever you choose to imagine after that point, who you're being, where you are, what you're touching, what you're experiencing, becomes so real to you. Your imagined acts become so real to you that they are more real than what you were experiencing before, that what is already manifested in 3D. So that is what it means to be in 5D. What is in your imagination is more real than what you've already manifested in the 3D. And remember that anything that you are experiencing, looking from 4D into 3D, you manifested that. That is it. It's old news. It's something you already created. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, but he talks about how we get stuck. And it's because we look at what we've already manifested, this 3D manifestation, which is usually a product of whatever programming we received from ages 0 to 7, and then maybe some additional repetition we got after that. But we're looking at it, observing it, and because we're observing it and because it's most real to us, we keep recreating the same thing over and over again. And that's why we can't overcome certain things, because we're paying attention to what already is, instead of going into 5D and making what we are trying to create more real to us. Meaning we actually, when we imagine like that, when it becomes real to us, when we engage our senses, when we think about what we might smell, how we might feel, what we would see, we can feel the coldness of the countertops of our dream home. We are literally putting that on a timeline that we're creating for ourselves. So we're looking back at the 4D, which is time, and we're seeing time as one piece, one thing that's all existing at one time. Just like we're looking at this 3D creation as one thing that's existing at one time. And we're actually putting things on a timeline, and they exist once we have vividly imagined them. And all we have to do is go back to 4D and keep experiencing life until we get to that point on our timeline that we've created. Now what happens is, if we create something on our timeline and then we go back to the 4D and we start to look again at what is instead of what we want, then we create yet another timeline that is repeating itself based on the old 3D that the old manifestations. So we shift ourselves back to another timeline when we choose to make the 3D more real to us and put it in our future. We make it more real to us than what we're imagining, and we get stuck again. So some people might say, oh, well, manifestation doesn't work, law of attraction doesn't work. It works perfectly. What's happening is we're still seeing our imagined acts or our imagined things that we want for ourselves as not real. And so we're confirming that we want more of the same because we see that as more real than what we're imagining. So being in 5D means seeing your whole timeline at once and saying, this is the life that I am manifesting for myself. And you don't have to manifest your entire life at once, just because the conscious mind is not able to even conceive of every detail of our lives at one time. But you can manifest things in your life by placing events, even feelings in your future. You can even go back to your past and adjust events, and they will affect your current timeline. They will affect the current 3D manifestation. Time travel can literally happen in the mind if we train ourselves. And I'll do more videos on how to train yourself to imagine. But you have to make it into a habit. You have to make existing in the 5D a habit. And everyone thinks that going to 5D is this one-time transformational event, but it's not. It is something, it's a skill that we have to learn. Just like we had to learn how to master the 3D and 4D, we're gonna have to learn how to master the 4D while in 5D. And sometimes we'll slip back and forth, and I think that we're supposed to slip back and forth because the 3D and 4D are where we get to enjoy our manifestations. But you can go to 5D right now by strengthening your imagination, by learning to meditate, to script, all those different manifestation techniques, and disconnect from the ego, disconnect from your 3D body, and disconnect from your concept that you are at a single point in time. You can go anywhere on your timeline and do anything. So that is how you go to 5D right now. Practice meditation, practice scripting, practice all the different techniques I have on my website, coachingconsciouscreators.com. So I hope this made sense to you guys and that it was helpful, and I hope that you have a wonderful day. Happy manifesting.